Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Untold Athlete Podcast. Just want to start by saying a huge thanks to all of you for the support. One big thing that you can do to help us out is to subscribe to the Untold Athlete on whichever platform that you listen on. It takes just 2 seconds, but it makes a massive difference to our mission, and we'd really appreciate it. Now, with that out of the way, today's guest has proven himself on some of the world's biggest stages and has become one of the UK's leading sprinters. From claiming European and world medals to an Olympic podium finish, he's left his mark in both individual and relay events. Known for his speed, focus and determination, he recently took top spot in the Diamond League finals and shows no sign of slowing down. So please sit back and enjoy the Untold Athlete with Charlie Dobson. Hello everyone, today we're joined by one of the most exciting young athletes in British athletics. He's a powerhouse on the track with an incredible list of achievements under his belt already, including World Championship bronze and a European title in the 4x400 metre relay. He also took home an Olympic bronze in Paris and most recently was crowned Diamond League champion in the 400 metres, showing everyone his speed and skill on some of the biggest stages in the world. It's an honour to welcome the man himself, Charlie Dobson. Charlie, how's it going, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We're really, really excited. Big year for you.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, lots going on. How was the games? Go on, tell us.
I honestly don't think you can kind of put it into words how awesome the whole experience was.
Yeah.
From like day one, even at the holding camp, it was something completely different to anything I've experienced before. And, you know, unless you've been to Olympics, you won't know it either. So
yeah, which is interesting because obviously World Championships, Europeans, Diamond League, they're all massive events. So to sort of say how different the Olympics actually was.
Yeah. I mean, they're all huge in their own right, but just the whole setup for the Olympics is just, it's like another league above
crazy. It. You've been really busy recently. On Thursday, where were you then?
On Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday? Oh, yesterday. Wait, no, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
What day is it? Saturday.
You're both.
Yeah, I was. We spent the afternoon at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
So all medalists, Paralympic and Olympic Games, were invited to go to a reception held at the palace by the King and the Princess Royal. So Princess Anne and the Duchess of Gloucester was there as well. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a really special afternoon.
Yeah.
Kind of going along with your mates at the end of the day from your team and other teams. So
yeah, like a bit of a Olympics reunion, but at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a different sort of afternoon.
Yeah, very cool. How was meeting Charles?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. He kind of came around, shook all our hands and had a nice little chat with us all.
Very
really nice.
Very cool experience. So what we like to start off with is some this or that questions just to get to know you a little bit better. So do you prefer training solo or training with teammates?
Teammates.
Always.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It's always interesting because obviously you're in an individual sport.
It is.
Do you find that some people in your sport do prefer to train alone?
I imagine there are some, yeah. I can only speak for myself though. It is an individual sport, but sometimes you kind of need that group around you to make training fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, like this morning's sessions, there were a group of 4 of us on the hill, and if you're doing that by yourself, it makes it like 3 times harder.
Yeah. Watching sports or playing sports?
Playing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you into many sports other than the athletics you do?
I don't really follow many sports, if I'm honest. I follow Formula 1 and golf, and that's really all I kind of follow outside of athletics.
Yeah, nice.
I'm also really bad at following athletics as well.
Oh, really? You're not like a proper student of athletics?
I'm really bad at it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I need to get better, but...
Well, it's going okay, so maybe you don't need to get better.
Well, we'll see.
Living in the big city or in a small town?
I would like to live in a city at some point in my life. I just want to experience what it's like to live in like central London.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard from mate. I've got a few mates that live in London, and it's expensive and busy. But I just want to experience it, even for like a couple of months.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. Sports documentary or action movie?
Action movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already let us know that you're not really that into sports.
unless it's Sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sprint on Netflix.
Yeah, it was
New
good.
season's coming out in like 4 days or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is that all shot before the games?
Before, during, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, nice. Gym day or rest day?
Rest day.
Rest day.
Yeah.
You really had to think about that one as well. Like, what should I say?
Yeah. I mean, everyone loves a rest day.
Yeah.
It's just a day off, isn't it?
Do you get many?
We get 2 a week.
Okay.
Thursdays and Sundays we have off.
Nice.
Yeah.
Favourite days?
Yeah.
Day at the beach or day in the countryside?
I'll probably go countryside, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a beach man.
I like a beach, but it's the same everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's just sand and sea, whereas like countryside you can get, I mean, there's different things sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you. Fancy restaurant or cozy cafe?
A nice little cafe, yeah.
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 Chill one.
Yeah. I like coffee, so all
big
the little
coffee fan.
cafes have like nice coffee, so
Yeah,
that's good.
okay. Spontaneous trip or carefully planned itinerary?
Spontaneous.
Really?
I don't think I've planned anything in my life.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then last one. I know you've changed over now, but 400 metre or 200 metre?
200.
200.
Easy. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't get sick after 200.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the fours, the way I always seem to kind of describe it is nobody ever picks the 400. The 400 kind of chooses you.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to go do a couple of 200s this year.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really enjoy them.
Is that potentially on the cards that you'll race some 200s this year?
We haven't decided anything yet. Would like to, but we wanted to last year, but we just kind of ran out of time. Mm-hmm. If we would have done one at the end of the season, but kind of other races got in the way.
They did. Unfortunately, when a Diamond League final comes your way, you're going to have to run it
down, really.
So just to start us off, what we'd love to hear is your journey through sport from when you very first started and then your journey all the way through to where you are now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, started going back to, I was in middle school and I went to the Suffolk Youth Games representing my kind of district at school. Mm-hmm. I think we ran like 60 metres and 120 metres because, we're only like 10 or 12 at the time. And yeah, I did really well. I won both of those events from what I remember. And kind of as soon as that happened, I was like begging my mum can I go and join an athletics club? Mm-hmm. And I went and joined Colchester Harriers, which was kind of one of two local clubs and, the one that I managed to get in. And yeah, just kind of started training casually with them for a few years, kind of, just like, 2-3 max sessions a week. Never really took it seriously. It was all just a bit of fun. Really enjoyed it though. And then kind of around 2017 time, started to take it a little bit more seriously.
And how old are you in 2017?
17.
Okay.
Yeah, makes it easy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of started around then, taking the sport and kind of my outlook towards sport a little bit more seriously. Kind of started seeing big improvements in training. We started kind of doing dedicated gym sessions around athletics as well, kind of really working on specific muscle groups, stuff like that. And yeah, kind of had a pretty decent season in 2017. We ended up at the English Schools Championships, which is one of the biggest athletics competitions for kind of, school age athletes. It certainly was huge.
So it's like a comp that like a lot of the really good athletes that are coming through would go to.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're kind of too young to make any senior team, and kind of the junior ages only really start kind of last year of school and kind of into kind of sixth form.
Okay, so pretty late in terms of like the structure of the sport.
Yeah,
when you start getting into that national system.
Yeah, so yeah, English Schools at the time was a huge competition. I went there, we ran the 200 and I got a silver medal there. Kind of that was my first experience of like proper big competition, and we loved it. After that, I think 1 or 2 months after that, I got a call up for my first national vest.
Okay, nice.
So that was in Manchester. It was the Manchester International, and I ran for GB Juniors, and I think I ran the 200. I actually can't remember where I came, to be honest.
Was there, so when you went to like the English schools, was there any sort of expectation as you were going into that if I do well, I might get called up for something like this?
I don't think I ever thought about stuff like that at the time. I certainly wasn't expecting anything. I just loved it. I just loved racing and running. So yeah, and then so the call up for internationals came as kind of a little bit of a surprise.
Nice surprise.
Yeah, a nice little surprise for the end of the year. And then moving into 2018, again, started taking it a little bit more seriously. And I kind of had a discussion with my coach at the time. If we properly try here, we can make the squad for World Juniors. Mm-hmm. And that was the Under 20 World Junior Championships. And that was held in Tampere in Finland. And then kind of throughout the year, just progressed. And, we got the qualifying time very early on in the season. So I kind of got the chance just to chill a bit. And yeah, went to the national championships for age groups. So Under 20 national championships. Came top 2 there. So automatically picked to go to World Juniors for the 200.
Job done.
Yeah. And yeah, moving into that competition, I had no expectation whatsoever. I was kind of expecting to go there, maybe make it through to the semi-finals, go home happy like that. From the first race that we did there, I kind of had a feeling that I could do something quite special.
Sort of looking at how you measured up to some of the competition and thinking, okay.
Yeah, because you kind of always look at the entry list and stuff like that before, and you kind of have a rough idea of where you expected to come and such. And I wasn't expected to make the final, really, being realistic. But yeah, going into it, and once I was there and once I was racing, I was like, yeah, we could do something here. And yeah, eventually came home from that with a silver medal at the World Juniors.
Not bad for no expectations.
Not bad for setting myself very very low expectations.
Yeah.
And yeah, off the back of that, I managed to secure a sponsorship deal with Puma, and I'm still with them to this day. So they've been incredibly supportive of me. And yeah, after World Juniors, I moved up here actually to Loughborough University. I was always planning to come to university in Loughborough, but kind of having that level of athletics has kind of cemented it. Yeah, has come into Loughborough. So yeah, that was the first big move of my career, moving up here.
And that's when you're 18.
Yeah. So kind of end of sixth form, start of uni.
So it went from kind of doing athletics and really enjoying it and showing some potential to within a couple of years it becoming a massive part of your life, a real goal.
Yeah, and it kind of went from a hobby to effectively a job. And obviously it's a pretty fun job.
Yeah, it's not bad. Running around in circles as a job, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So when you started athletics, speaking to people sort of now, did people know that you were going to be really good, or were they noticing that you were good and you just weren't really aware of it because you were just having fun, or was it a bit of a shock to everyone?
I think so. I think my coach at the time, so kind of around World Junior time, he always thought I could do something pretty cool. He's always said since, certainly.
Easy to say since.
Yeah. But, he kind of took me on, and he was like the top level coach at the time at the club. And like, if you made it into his squad, you were seen as like one of the best at the club. So kind of to be invited to join his squad was something pretty cool. Yeah. So I think a few people kind of picked up on certain things. I was just there to have fun. But
yeah, so I think it's probably the best way, isn't it? Especially at that age.
Certainly. Even still now, you just have to go and enjoy it otherwise.
And you're still enjoying it all the time?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, even doing the 400?
Yes.
So when did you sort of start to break into more senior ranks in athletics?
So kind of once I'd moved up to Loughborough, that was kind of when you start reaching into like the senior levels. You also still have the under-23s. I only had a couple of years there. Unfortunately, I had a rough kind of start to that kind of age group and into the seniors. I had a couple of pretty large injuries like my first few years at Loughborough, and I just never managed to get it right. So yeah, it was a rough start into the senior. I didn't make my first senior team until 2022. So that was after 4 years of being here in Loughborough. I still run all right kind of every year, but I only managed to do like 1 or 2 races before I got so badly hurt that I didn't race again for the rest of the season. So yeah, it was a ropey start, but we got there eventually. Yeah,
and obviously when you first come up to Loughborough, you're excited about what you're going to do, and then to be getting injured so often, very difficult to stick to the mission and trust the process.
It was hard, especially when we had a different thing every year. You kind of you feel like you fix something and then something else breaks, and then you fix that and something else goes wrong, and it didn't feel like at the time it was ever going to stop. Which was incredibly hard to kind of get around. But I think the thing for me is I had my degree to focus on as well, which kind of took my mind off everything else that was going on. And that was useful.
Do you feel at all like the injuries were you getting something wrong, or was it just the unfortunate you get injured in sport?
I think so there's always a statistic that goes around, like from the junior to the senior ranks, there's a massive drop off in athletes, and it's true. And there has been a large drop off every year. And I think the way my training developed from like the junior years to the senior years, my body just wasn't ready for it. And I think in hindsight, looking back, we tried to do too much at a time, and it kind of never fully worked properly. I mean, we still ran incredibly well, so something was working, but there was just something else that we couldn't put our finger on that wasn't quite working.
And it's one of those as well, like you're going from junior to senior, so you know that the work is going to take a step up. Yeah. And it's about pushing boundaries, and you only find out where the boundaries are when you sometimes push them a little bit too far.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, you're going from a junior to a senior, your body's maturing, you're waiting for that to catch up, and sometimes you overstretch it, and it just happens.
Yeah, Max. When I moved to Loughborough, I obviously got a new coach who was great. I loved him. He was from Sweden, and the way he approached training was really cool, like really mathematical and kind of from an engineering background, which was great for me because I studied engineering at uni.
Yeah. So
I really got on with him, and we had a great time. But yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't work out in terms of injuries wise and stuff like that.
So when you finally started to get healthy for a long period of time, that sort of 2022 period.
Yeah.
So what was the journey from then going forward to sort of the last 2 years?
So I guess that journey probably actually started around 2020 during COVID. Mm-hmm. So we we tried out a 400 for fun in quotation marks. Because, there were no other competitions on at the time. It was COVID. There wasn't anything major going on. So we thought, well, why not? Ran it just at the track, at Loughborough track actually, which is, it's a training track. So it's designed for training on. Ended up running, I think, joint fastest time of the year.
Interesting.
Of everyone in Britain. And I think it was Matt Hudson-Smith, who's, if you've watched Athletic, who that is.
Yeah, I do.
And I think both me and him ran about exactly the same time. So we ended up kind of, it was COVID, so it doesn't really matter.
And just for reference to the listener, Matt Hudson-Smith, who came second in the 400 metres in the Paris Olympic Games just gone, is the fastest man in Europe ever to run a 400 metres. And I'm also actually sat opposite the third fastest ever in Europe to run a 400 metres. Yeah, we're in really good company in Britain at this distance.
Yeah, so after running that 400, it kind of almost like cemented my position in the 4x4 teams going forward.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask, when you had this idea to do a fun 400 just to try, why was that an idea?
I think I was eventually convinced to do one by both my coach at the time, Benke, and a couple of other athletes I trained with, Danny Talbot, Di Green, and Harry Aiken-Zariti. Mm-hmm. And they finally managed to convince me because there was nothing else happening. And, everyone has always said, like, your stride lengths and the way you run would perfectly suit a 400.
Yeah.
And I'd always put it off because I'd heard the horror stories of running the 400. They're all true, by the way.
Yeah. I'm glad they're true because I have run one or two in my life and it's not a horrible distance.
Yeah, it's not fun. And we just gave one a try at a local open meet. And this was during COVID, so there was like a lane between every athlete, which was really weird. But yeah, it went really well, unexpectedly well.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately well. And yeah, as they say, that's history. So
yeah. So on the home straight of the 400 metres, obviously, I imagine you're a bit faster than me when I run the 400 metres, but does it still hurt as much on that home straight?
Oh yeah, it hurts. There's no way you can run it where it's not going to hurt.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's good to hear. Mm-hmm. It's nice for me to hear that.
Basically, the only way to run the final stretch for 400 is you have to give it everything. Because you're going to be decelerating, you're going to be in pain. You just have to hit it as hard as you can.
Just grit your teeth and
just keep picking your knees up. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So this year for you, obviously a huge year, potentially the best ever season in your career. Can you take us through some of the highlights from 2024?
So I think we first started in the Bahamas.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, we spent a week and a half in Florida on a training camp, and then we flew out to the Bahamas for World Relays.
Okay,
and this was to qualify our relays team for the Olympics.
Okay.
It's the only way to qualify for the Olympics this year. And relay competitions are great fun.
Yeah.
Because you're there, you got your teammates there. It's basically like a training camp for 3 weeks with a little run out at the end of it. Because in our selection policy for individual competition, you have to compete at the national championships. Mm-hmm. So in a way, it's more similar to individual competition now.
Yeah.
Because rather than running a time throughout the season and kind of hoping you come in the top 16 or whatever, you go to the relay championships, and if you make the final, you're guaranteed a slot. If you don't make the final, there's a second round where it's then the next top 8 fastest times, I think, go.
Okay.
And then I think there's a couple of spots available for people that weren't able to send a team out for whatever reason.
Right, okay.
But it's, that's not guaranteed.
It's still, you've got to come to this competition and perform if you want to get the opportunity.
I mean, I loved it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had a really good time out there, and we all ran well, and we qualified all 3 teams. But we were the only other country alongside America to qualify all 5 relay teams for the Olympics.
Oh, wow, that is a really good start.
Yeah, that's really cool. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so qualified your place for the Olympic Games.
Yeah, for the relay, yeah.
And so what's next for you?
So then for me, I came back to Loughborough, trained for probably about a month, 3 weeks or so, and then flew out to Italy for my first competition individually, and that was in a little town called Savona. Mm-hmm. Really nice.
Yeah,
but then
pretty.
Yeah, first competition of the season, I was terrified because it's the first time I've been kind of committed to the 400 for a whole season. Mm-hmm. So I had no idea what was going to happen. Ended up going really well, around 44, 48, way under the standard for the Olympics. Smashed my own personal best by 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, huge result.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, that was a good.
And where did you finish there?
I won that race.
You won there. And what was the event?
It was a Continental Tour Challenger meet, I think.
Okay.
So in athletics, you have the Diamond League, which is the kind of pinnacle of league athletics. And then you have the Continental Tour, and that has 4 different categories: gold, silver, bronze, and challenger. Going from gold is the highest level, challengers down the bottom. Mm-hmm. But quite often the challenger meets are just great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pressure off a little bit.
A little bit less pressure, and it's just fun.
Yeah. Fun to go run around in circles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they're normally held at tracks without stadiums as well. So it's just like yourself, you're running. There's a few other athletes there as well. You maybe get a few spectators. It's really like low key, fun little events. Do
you feel like you can try stuff out a little bit more without it being
exactly.
really high stakes?
Yeah. You're not risking everything on the first race.
Yeah.
Coming off the back of that, considering we ran so well at that race, we ended up kind of pulling out of the next couple of meets we had planned.
Because you'd hit a qualification
Because
time.
I hit the standard already, and we were way above what we thought we might be. So I was like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's chill for a couple of weeks. So off the back of that, we got picked for the Europeans, and that was my first 400 individual vest. So that was an awesome thing to have.
Yeah, a bit of a milestone.
Yeah, definitely. And going into that was an awesome meet. Yeah, that was really good fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Why specifically?
I don't know really. It was kind of because it was almost like it was new to me still. Even though I've run a few 4s by this time, it's like this is my first like major champs when I'm running a 400.
Yeah.
I hadn't even run one at like British champs or national champs or anything like that. So the first competition I've had for the 400 where I've had rounds to navigate like by myself.
Yeah.
And get through them all. So I learned a lot from that, and that was a really good experience.
And where did you finish there?
So I ended up coming back with a silver medal.
Yeah. Is that where you set your PB, your fastest time?
It was at the time. Yeah. Yes. So I ran a PB. I think I ran 44.3 something.
Okay.
And the guy that beat me, Alexander Doom, he ran 44.15.
Quick.
Which was like we weren't expecting that. He wasn't from his reaction.
Yeah.
So that was a cool race to be a part of just because of that.
Yeah.
Just ignoring my own like where I finished individually. Just watching him run was pretty
really
cool as well. The European record has stood for so long.
Oh, really? Has it?
Up until this year, maybe last year with Matt. Can't remember.
Yeah, and then 3 people have run it in the last year and broken the old record at least.
Broken the old record at least, yeah. Certainly
you being one of them.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so from Europeans then, where are we in the year at Europeans?
So this was my 3rd competition of the year, if you include World Relays, and that was end of May.
Yeah, okay.
End of May.
So we are getting pretty close to the Olympics already. Time's going quickly.
Yeah. I haven't raced that much this season really, because we did, as I said, because we got our standard quite early, which kind of took a little on the back seat a bit and kind of
don't need to compete too much.
There's no point risking it if you don't need to. After that we went to British champs, and that was that was probably up there with one of my most favourite races of the year.
Oh really?
Because that race I ended up winning British champs, and that race qualified me for the Olympics individually.
Okay.
And that meant, if anything, more than any other race of the season.
Yeah, making sure you've got that qualification.
Yeah. Securing my spot at the Olympics it meant so much. After the 5 years I've had of not being able to make individual teams and stuff like that. So.
And in your event, the 400, age-wise, you're 25 now, aren't you? Just turned 25.
Yeah, just turned.
So is that young for the event?
I think typically the 400 tends to be older, yeah. You kind of, Matt's at his peak now and he's just turned 30.
Yeah.
So, Vernon Norwood as well this year had an incredible season. I think he might be like 32.
Yeah. So there's some life, a long sort of life left.
There's a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think typically as the distance gets longer, you kind of peak later in your own career. Yeah. Because it's not as explosive as you have like the 100 and the 200, where I think you can start to lose that explosiveness relatively quickly compared to like distance or longer events. Certainly.
How much tactics is there in you running a 400?
I try to run it kind of the same way every time, to be honest. Certainly if it's a final or like a semi-final or something like that. If it's a heat, you kind of start the race the same, and then you kind of judge your position about 250 meters into the race to 300 meters into the race. You kind of start looking around, kind of judging where people are, and like if you can hold back a bit, then you do, because the last thing you want to be doing is like wasting your energy. So yeah, having a couple of quick looks around at like 250, 300 to kind of judge where you are and compared to everyone else in the race.
And hope everyone's behind you so you don't have to push this home straight.
Yeah. That'd be lovely, but it doesn't always go that way. No. So yeah, kind of there's a little bit of tactics, certainly a lot more than the 2 and the 1. Yeah.
And so on to the Olympic Games. I can see a box in the corner of the room and it's got some Olympic rings on. And I'm just guessing what's in there at the moment.
Go on, have a guess.
I reckon a 4x400 meter bronze medal, if I had to guess.
There's actually nothing in that one.
No.
It's down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry.
Just for show.
I led you on with that.
Nothing in that one?
No, that's the box that the box comes in.
So you need 2 boxes for a medal, definitely.
Of course, yeah.
So the 400, so you ran in both the 400 and the 4x4?
Yeah.
And semi-final in the 400?
I reached the semi-final, yeah.
Yeah, and how was it for you? How was the experience of doing your 400, which you haven't been doing for very long, at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, that was so cool. You know, it's like, I think the crowd there it's an 80,000 seat stadium, and
big.
I'm fairly sure it was sold out pretty much every session.
Insane.
So to be there for that and, run my it's first Olympics, it was incredible.
And how much does that crowd, the size of that crowd, how much does it do to your actual running? Obviously the atmosphere is incredible and it's amazing to be in there.
Yeah.
Does it do anything to your run?
It certainly has an effect. I think certainly a home crowd does as well.
Yeah.
For me, I do try and ignore the crowd as much as possible. But when you've got 80,000 people, I had a French guy a couple of lanes inside me. So when they got to his name, you could feel the crowd.
Yeah.
Like even if you're not listening, you can feel them screaming and shouting.
Hard to ignore that.
Yeah, it was hard to ignore. But at the same time, that made it almost better.
Yeah.
Because, the energy you get from it is awesome. Yeah.
It must be hard then to feel that and feel that adrenaline pumping and think, still got to run my own race.
Yeah, still got to focus.
Got to concentrate.
Yeah, just don't get carried away.
Yeah, difficult. Especially in something like the 400, which lasts a bit longer. 100 metre sprint, you sort of get out the blocks and you haven't got any choice but to kind of follow your race.
There's no time to think either. Yeah. With a 400, you're like thinking the whole way around.
Yeah.
Which was another new thing for me, kind of running the 4. I never really thought during a race before, but
having to navigate the actual race a bit more and
judging your pace and kind of where you are in the race and stuff like that.
So then 4x400 relay. How did that go?
Yeah, again, pretty good. The guys that we've been, the guys on our team, we've been running together since 2022. Had a couple of new additions since, and a couple of people unfortunately didn't manage to make the squad this year. But yeah, we all know each other really well. We've all been friends for years, so it's a different energy kind of with the relay than it is individual. Because you have meetings beforehand and you're all together. You kind of go and get dinner together. You warm up for the race together as well, which is really quite nice.
That team feel.
Yeah, it's like
you're not on your own on the track.
You've got other people to kind of fight your corner and stuff like that. It just changes the entire dynamic of the whole event, especially when you get to call room. Because normally the call room, which happens just before a race, it's really quite tense and stressful. And, you have kind of people trying to stay you down and stuff like that, which I don't really care about. But yeah, when you got your mates behind you and you're standing in like a huddle with them, it's just different. You kind of forget everything else. Yeah. And that's really nice, and that's probably why I think it really is one of the best events.
Your favourite?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
certainly. Because you can do it with your mates. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we managed to navigate the heat pretty well. I ran the 4th leg, which is the first time I've ever run 4th leg. So that was experience as well. It's scary.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do until it's your turn, and you have to watch everyone else run their legs, and you have to put complete trust in all of them. And we all trust each other 100%.
And you're waiting.
Yeah, it's a lot of time
isn't nice, is
waiting.
it?
No, not at all. I previously before that I've run normally do second if I'm in the men's relay. I normally do third if I'm in the mixed relay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, to kind of have to watch the whole race kind of play out before me, it's different. Yeah, it's different.
So what was the rationale behind you running the fourth leg for the first time when you get to the Olympics?
That was honestly just the way that our relay coach kind of wanted the team structure. Mm-hmm. For the heat, we had Sam Reardon on first, Matt Hudson on second, Alex Haydock on third, and then it was me last. And that's a different team than we've ever run before. I think we've actually run a different team every time I've ran.
And that, I'm sure that makes things surely more difficult.
I don't think it makes it difficult. Mm-hmm. If anything, it kind of proves to us that we are capable of running whatever order we want to be put in.
Yeah.
And it kind of builds up the trust between us all, because you run different legs, and each one is very different. One is, I think 3 and 4 are fairly similar, but 1 and 2 are just completely different to all the rest of them.
In what way?
So the first leg you run entirely in lanes.
Oh, of course,
and,
yeah.
And the stagger is because it's 3 bends worth of stagger rather than the normal 2 for a 400, that you have it's almost like a 10-15 metre gap to the next runner immediately off the gun. So, you have to remember that the whole way around and kind of not try and get dragged into catching the person too quickly.
Yeah.
And then second, you do the first bend in lanes, and then you have to cut in. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to kind of jostle for position a bit sometimes around that mark and stuff like that. And then 3 and 4, it's all kind of, there aren't obviously assigned lanes by that point, so you're kind of running in a huddle.
Yeah, it's a really interesting relay actually in that sense.
Yeah.
There's a
it's
lot
incredibly
of tactics
tactical.
to it.
Yeah.
So then you guys made the final in Paris.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how did that go?
We had a slightly different team, so we swapped it to Alex Haydock off on first leg. Matt stayed on second leg. Lewis was on third, and I was actually the same again on fourth leg. So yeah, so slightly different team compared to the heat, but we were pretty confident, to be honest. We've been training for this, since World Relays at the start of the year. We've kind of been practicing together. So,
and is there any talk about expectations of what you guys want to do in that final?
I think we all knew we'd medal.
Yeah.
I think it was just a question of what medal. Mm-hmm. We knew Botswana and America were going to be incredibly strong.
Yeah.
America's obviously America. They've got so much depth and everything. Botswana, they had their secret weapon, which was Letsile Tebogo, who just won the 200. So A, he's on a high, B, he's an incredible runner as well.
Yeah.
So we knew they were going to be tough. But also we sort of knew that we could beat any other team. Yeah. That any other country could put out. So yeah, we were going into it pretty confident, to be honest. And yeah, it went 100% the way we expected and the way we thought it would.
Yeah, and you running that fourth leg, you got to cross the line.
I got to bring it home for the team, for the boys, and yeah, that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, very cool to watch, man. Very, very cool.
And then kind of as soon as we crossed the line, by that point, so when I got the baton, we were comfortably ahead of any other team as well. So apart from America and Botswana, they kind of ran away with it, as we expected. But we had a comfortable distance to fourth place. And I was like, all I have to do here is not drop it. Yeah. Or not trip over myself. Yeah. The rest of the guys did such an incredible job that it made my role relatively easy. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was get round a 400. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did, and coming across that line. And then we saw the time, and there's been a few posts on social media about this afterwards, just my reaction and Alex's reaction to kind of seeing the time come up on the board, because we broke the European record by quite a margin, and that stood for 28 years as well, something like that.
Breaking records all over at the moment, the British lads.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, we all put everything on the line. Matt, he really wasn't in a good way afterwards, but he split 43.0. Yeah. Fastest split by a British man ever. I ran 43.3, second fastest split ever. And both Lewis and Alex both put out incredible legs as well. Both fastest legs they've ever run as well. So a really top performance from everyone. Yeah. Everyone upped their game for that. Yeah, it was incredible to watch. Yeah, and it came quite late in the Olympic programme, didn't it? Apart from the girls 4x4, it was the last track event of the games. Yeah, so that's quite nice to just round it off. Yeah. But the cool thing about that was we got to have our medal ceremony in front of the crowd that had watched us, because that happened half an hour after. Yeah. So that was pretty cool as well. Yeah, that's really nice. Your season wasn't finished there, was it? No, we weren't done.
how long was it until your next competition after the Olympics?
I think I had 12 days, something like that. 11, 12 days.
Crazy.
Yeah, so the next race after that was Lausanne in Switzerland. Second Diamond League of the season, apart from London. And yeah, that was a great little race. I've raced there before, and I just really enjoy that stadium and that crowd. And Lausanne itself is a lovely city, so, you know, kind of going back there was really nice.
So 12 days after the Olympics, you had Diamond League in Lausanne.
Yeah.
And then is that your season over?
Nope. Then was off to Rome again for another Diamond League, same stadium as Europeans was in. So that was quite nice to actually go back there and see that stadium again.
Felt like you knew it as well.
Yeah, felt like second home.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, that race, by this point I was getting pretty tired from the season. So it didn't go particularly well. I still ran all right, but yeah, it wasn't my fastest race.
And did you know at that time, like, I am tired now, I need a decent
I could feel
rest?
it in my legs. But then so could everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you kind of get fairly close, friendly with the other guys that run on the Diamond League. So yeah, everyone was like, yeah, we're tired.
Yeah. Just want the season to kind of come to an end now.
Sort of, yeah. But yeah, so the aim of doing these two races was to get enough points to qualify for the Diamond League final. And mine was actually really touch and go whether I was going to be in the final. You need to come top 9 on points because the home nation is allowed to put one of their own athletes in, which the time wasn't in the top 9. I think I finished on the points table at about 10th.
Okay.
So I had to effectively wait for 3 athletes ahead of me to pull out before I was offered a spot.
Yep.
So it was really kind of 50-50 whether I was going to be in the race. And then we got the call that I was in the race on the Monday before the competition, which was Friday.
Yeah.
So really, really short notice.
And I take it you were still ticking over your training to make sure that if that call came through.
Yeah, we were still training, but at this point it was like, come on, I just want to get it done.
I just want to know either way.
Yeah, exactly. And so we kind of made the decision that if we hadn't heard by Monday evening, we were just going to end it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was getting quite stressful and everything. But yeah, we found out Monday afternoon that we were in the race, and that was okay. From then on, we kind of just started booking Eurostar in the end, so like booking train tickets and stuff like that. And yeah.
And that was in Brussels, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in Brussels.
And so you go in, you've been invited because a couple of people have pulled out, and you sat sort of in 10th on that point system. So you go into that competition thinking, you know, I'm going to go and run my 400. I know I'm tired. I know that these are some of the best 400 runners in the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so expectations can't be too high for that.
No. So I, honestly, going into the race, I initially found out I was going to be put in lane 1.
Okay.
Which wasn't particularly happy about. But at that point, I was just like, yeah, cool, fine. We'll get on with it. I honestly would have been happy with finishing 5th, 6th, 7th in that race. And I'd have walked away perfectly happy with the whole season. Yeah. And at generally at the last minute, so I think 3-4 hours maybe before I was due to leave for the competition, my agent texted me saying, you've been moved to lane 7. And I was like, okay, that's a bit better. Yeah. Take this a little bit, put a little bit more effort in here. Yeah. Because it was so cold at the time. So I was like, if I'm genuinely going to be in lane 1, I might actually just walk out in tights and race in tights. Yeah. Because lane 1's hard. It's just, the bend's really tight, so you can never push out as hard as you want to. Right. So yeah, lane 7 was pretty much an ideal lane for me. So I kind of started getting really excited for the race. You know, started warming up. I think it was like 8 degrees, which is freezing for a race. Horrible. And yeah, just we got on the line and I felt incredible. So I pushed out as I do normally. We got to 250, and the rest of the guys, which I've raced 3-4 times, they weren't anywhere near as far as ahead as they usually would be. So I was expecting them to be like 20 metres ahead by this point, because I've raced them previously, but they were only like 5 and 10 metres ahead. So I came off the bend and thought, if I kick here, I can get them. And I just gave it everything I had left. And I think I caught the last guy at like 10 metres to go or something. Yeah. Managed to win it. Yeah, it was incredible to watch. I couldn't believe it. No, I couldn't. Not at the commentators. Yeah, everyone was shocked, but not shocked in that sense, just to come through and win it, and in the way that you did. What was really impressive, and I don't know athletics technique, but what it looked like to me is everyone sort of started to then really push, and you started to see in that home straight technique start to sort of waver a little bit. Yeah. And you just looked like you just powered through, kept really upright, and just
ran your race completely.
Yeah, exactly.
It was almost as if you knew you were going to win, which I'm sure you didn't, but it looked like you knew what the result of this race was going to be, and you just had to run your race and you'd get there.
Yeah, exactly. I think the biggest thing for me was just don't get tangled up in like a one-on-one fight with someone, and just focus on your own lane and your own race, and just, you know, run it exactly the same way you've done every other time. And I think it was Vernon and Samu Konga, I think, were having like a proper fight, like a couple lanes inside me, and they were starting to tie up a bit. So I just thought, if I just keep picking my knees up, you know, keep striding the way you've done the whole way around so far, and you just ran past them. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah, it was so cool. And you did an interview after, and you looked surprised.
Yeah, I was. Genuinely, I was. I'm still surprised.
Yeah, it was an amazing night. And that was then season finished?
That was, I don't want to say finally, but finally the season is done.
Yeah. I mean, an incredible year, but after all of that, nice to have a rest.
Yes, very nice. Very nice indeed, yeah.
So incredible season for you. And we know obviously a lot more about where you've come from. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you've faced in your career so far?
It's by far has been injuries. Yeah, I've actually lost count of how many I've had now. Every athlete will get injuries. It is part of sport. It's not a very nice part of sport, but unfortunately it is part of elite sport. But I seem to have particularly had quite a few serious ones. I've always been told I don't ever do anything by half, so if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly.
Injuries included.
Unfortunately, injuries included. Yeah, so I think there was a period of time when I pulled my hamstring, I think 3 years in a row, something like that. Yeah, and like proper tears as well, not just like grade ones. Like had grade 3s and grade 2 and 3s, which are, aside from like rupturing the hamstring away from the bone, that's as bad as you can get. Really. Yeah. The biggest injury for me was I had a stress fracture in my shin. That happened in 2021. We were actually at the World Relays again in Poland, and I started doing my warm-up jog, and I felt a little bit of pain in my shin. And thought, this is not great, but I'll carry on. By the end of the 400-metre jog, I genuinely couldn't put any weight through my shin. It went from like nothing to everything in 400 metres. Got back to the UK after it, and it still was agony. Got sent for an X-ray and a CT scan by the doc, and it turned out I'd cracked the bone between 50 and 60% of the way through my shin.
Wow.
And I've been walking around like the airport and everything, just on it. Yeah. Without realising. So, I mean, it probably made it worse, or definitely made it worse. Certainly didn't make it better. Yeah, that was hard. That was a hard one because, you know, I felt like we'd finally got over kind of some hamstring issues and stuff like that, and we're going to have a good year. I was running the 4x4 I was supposed to be running the 4x4 at the World Relay, so that was supposed to be my kind of first introduction to 4x4 relay running. And yeah, it set me back by pretty much a whole year. Yeah. I'm not sure if I actually raced again that season. I can't remember. I might have managed to fit one little race in at the end, but nothing special. And
injury is just so brutal for an athlete. And one decent injury can really make your head drop because obviously you can't do what you love. You can't do much at all because you've hurt your body. Yeah. And you know that the journey to get just back to doing your sport, not even back to the sort of level you were at before. Yeah, it's such a long journey. It's quite a lonely journey, rehabbing constantly. So to have those repetitive injuries, it can really drop your head.
Yeah, it can. But I think the biggest thing around that is just having an end goal to focus on. You know, every injury I've had, I've always come back, and nearly always I've come back stronger from it. So I just had to have that in the back of my mind when I was doing, you know, because I couldn't put any weight through it for a couple of months. So I was like in the swimming pool doing aqua jogging, doing swimming to stay fit, a load of upper body stuff, as you can tell.
Yeah, looking big, man, looking big.
Yeah, you just have to have an end goal in mind and just keep with that goal, because as soon as you start thinking otherwise, you're going to lose focus and lose motivation.
And obviously the repetitive injury is really annoying, but the one good thing about it is, you know, you've done it before. You know you've been injured.
There's that side to it as well.
And your head's dropped and you thought, I don't know if I'm going to come back stronger. And you have. So then the next time it happens to you, you go, right, I know I felt this last time, but I've got evidence now.
We know what to do. Yeah. So there's that as well. Kind of the only silver lining, I'd say, of having multiple injuries is, you know what you need to do.
Yeah, you get good at rehabbing.
You get good at rehabbing. kind of this year we've changed a couple of things. So I moved coaches as well, not necessarily to do with injuries, just a matter of circumstance as well. But I switched coaches, and my new coach Leon made me go and see a different physio, and see them regularly as well. So we got a few rehab or prehab programs in place, and so far, touch wood, this year has been really good. Not had a single issue.
Yeah, it seems like you sort of, as an athlete, you learn to get to know your body better and better. And that also changes as you get older.
Exactly,
each year it changes.
Yeah. So
it sounds like you start to really sort of hit something. And
yeah, definitely.
Touch wood. No more injuries. It sounds like sort of you've managed that rehab so well, and you said it's about having that end goal.
Yeah.
So is it sort of you put belief in what you're doing completely and follow it step by step, trust in that process?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the coaches and the physios that have helped me do all this rehab stuff, they know what they're talking about. They've helped countless athletes kind of rehab and stuff like that, and there's countless scientific papers written about certain things that I know my previous coach went away and studied kind of whilst I was injured. So yeah, having a proper plan in place with proper rehab and a coach as well to kind of oversee it all as well, and makes a huge difference. Yeah. And as long as you stick to that kind of schedule and rehab stuff, and you have faith in it, it will work. Yeah. You just have to stay motivated yourself, but again, you know the end goal and you know it's possible. So you just have to keep at it.
Would you say that's your engineering mind sort of coming into
I think
practice
so,
there?
yeah. It's kind of, you kind of look at it, step away from it, rather than looking at it as a bad thing. You just look at it as a step-by-step process of getting to the next stage. And, you just have to forget about, what you're missing out on and stuff like that, and just move on with it.
Yeah. And the problem, obviously, with something like a stress fracture, it's so difficult to rehab and recover from a stress fracture. It's not like, at least a torn hamstring, there's a very clear rehab process, but when it's bony...
Torn hamstrings are annoying, but they're relatively easy to rehab because you can start loading them fairly early on, and you can start building the strengths back early on. But yeah, with a stress fracture, you can't do anything until it's healed.
Is it kind of just getting a scan, seeing where it's at, getting a scan, seeing where it's at, until you can start actually rehabbing properly?
Yeah, sort of. So we went, I think we did 2 weeks of completely non-weight bearing, and then 2 weeks of 50% weight bearing, and then another 6 weeks or something walking around in a boot again. But I still wasn't allowed to put any force through it. Yeah. I was only ever allowed to do body weight stuff. And that got pretty frustrating after a while.
Just being sedentary, not moving about as much.
Yeah, couldn't go play golf, couldn't run, could just about swim. Yeah. Couldn't do any weights, couldn't do any lifting. Yeah.
Going from a full-time athletic schedule
to nothing.
Very
basically.
tough.
But there's always other things you can do. Always. So you just have to do those.
Yeah. Injury is opportunity.
Exactly.
That's what they say. What we'd like to know is, for any athletes listening right now that are trying to navigate either a career in athletics or just in sport in general, what advice would you give to them about their elite sporting career?
I think the biggest thing which I kind of had to learn as I was going is not putting pressure on yourself, because this sport is horrible. It's pretty brutal. Even from my own experiences, I think when I first moved to uni, I kind of put quite a bit of pressure on myself to make teams and run certain times, and ended up almost chasing it as such. And that's kind of when you get into a hole and you kind of digging yourself a deeper hole, and you don't allow your body to relax or repair what it needs to do. And that's when injuries happen, when you start chasing things and your body's not ready for it. So certainly to kind of don't put pressure on yourself to perform. Things happen. Life gets in the way sometimes, but at the same time, you just have to enjoy it as well. Yeah. Because without enjoying the sport, it becomes a hell of a long career.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, enjoy it and don't put pressure on yourself. If it's going to happen, it will happen.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult because you always want to perform to your best and you want to up the level that you're competing at. And the only way to do that is, I've got to train harder. And sometimes it's not just throw everything at it, train as hard as you possibly can. Sometimes like you said, giving your body time to recover and rest and things like that, and following that plan. And obviously you're really good at following the plan with regards to a rehab point of view, but you still have to follow the plan in a training point of view, and just know that I need to do this, be patient, keep doing it to get to that new time that I want to run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need to 100% trust in your coach and just, follow what they've done, what your physios set out, and, as long as your coach agrees with it. Because I think another big, massive thing is having a support system around you that agree with each other. Obviously, they will have different ideas, but as long as they can talk about those different ideas and kind of formulate a proper plan and structure around you, that's massive as well.
That sort of the staff that are around you, nutritionists, S&C, coaches, making sure there's cohesion there so that there's one pathway.
Yeah, one pathway rather than each one of them trying to kind of force you to do their own different idea of what to do. It kind of the other members of your support team, as long as those will work in a cohesive manner, it will pay off.
So we're going to move into my selfish question now, which is where I get to just ask you anything about you or your sport that I just want to know.
Yeah.
So if you could change one rule in athletics, what would it be? And you have told me explicitly that you're not that good at athletics knowledge. So I'm starting to think you might not even know the rules at this point.
I know the rules. Don't worry.
When the gun goes bang, you run.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I think the one rule I would change is it's around the full start rule. So when the gun goes, the reaction time of the athlete is currently not allowed to be less than 0.1, so a tenth of a second. If it's any faster than that, it's deemed as a full start. Now, this was based off a study of a couple of Finnish athletes from like the 80s or 90s or something. But since then, training has advanced so much and people's reactions have got so much better. And it's becoming more and more common for people to react in less than a tenth of a second. So like 0.098 or something like that. And they would currently be deemed as a full start. Whereas in my view, they've just reacted to the gun and they've just reacted faster than anyone else.
Yeah.
So I think that rule needs updating.
Yeah, it is insane to think that the gun can go and then you can get out of your blocks and then you can get disqualified for a false start for going after the gun.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's happened to a guy, Richard Kilty, quite a few times, who was 60 world indoor champion. It's happened to him quite a few times, and it happened at the 2022 World Championships in Eugene. There was a 110 hurdler, Devon Allen, reacted just under the tenth of a second and got disqualified.
So harsh.
Yeah, even though you couldn't see a difference on the camera at all, but the block sensor picked it up.
Yeah, it's insane that you can go after the gun and get a false start.
Yeah, so I think they need to revise that rule a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Drop it down a couple of tenths, but
Off mic, I actually asked that exact same question to Adam Jamili, and he said the exact same thing.
Did he? It's quite a big one. I think that there does need to be a limit, but the limit.
Do you think after the gun goes?
Yes, after the gun goes.
Why do you think there needs to be a limit?
Because the human reaction isn't instant. But at the same time, if you've predicted the gun and got it right,
if you gamble,
why shouldn't that pay off?
Yeah. I've gambled potentially getting a false start.
Yeah.
I've got it right. I feel like I shouldn't be penalised.
Yeah, there's that argument to it as well.
If it's after the gun.
If it's after the gun, then maybe they should just scrap it, see what happens.
Yeah, I think so.
Scrap it for a year, try it out.
I think it should be if the gun is gone.
See how quickly we can run.
Yeah, you're good. Charlie, thank you so much for sitting down with us, for sharing your sporting journey and your advice with us. Congratulations on this summer in Paris and in Diamond League and in everything else. It's been amazing to watch and really looking forward to what comes next for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I had a great time.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Thank you.
And that wraps up today's episode. A massive thanks to Charlie for taking the time to sit down with us after such an incredible season. He's an amazing athlete who has already achieved so much and still has a very long career ahead of him. It was also really interesting to hear that sort of level of insight into a career in athletics. And thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to join us next time when we'll be talking to another world-class athlete and diving into the realities of elite sport. Until then, stay strong and take care of yourselves.